Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. The St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association is weighing in on the ticklish decision to reopen the country's borders to international flights, namely from the U.S., which is currently a COVID-19 hub. SLMDA President Dr. Merle Clark says the decision has left the medical fraternity split, with some reluctantly for the move, whilst others vehemently oppose it. She says she believes no stone was left unturned by the decision makers, and so she believes the decision was made in good faith. Rochelle Gonzalez has more.
Since the announcement was made in May that the nation's borders would be reopened come June 4th, a debate was sparked that continues to rage on to this day. Fuel was added to the debate when it was announced that flights from the U.S. would be coming in with tourists and returning nationals come July 9th. Concerns were raised and the decision was met with fierce opposition as the U.S. is currently the epicenter of the dreaded COVID-19. The St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association has now joined the debate, and according to the association's president, Dr. Merle Clark, the matter has left the medical fraternity split.
There are varied opinions among our members. So the SLMD is obviously a heterogeneous group and a diverse group. So the opinions vary as much as the numbers, and we over 200 members. So there is one argument, of course, that the number of cases in the U.S., the cases are surging, and certainly we should keep our borders closed, particularly to the U.S. But there is the other school of thought, and this is almost equally divided down the middle, that if there are proper protocols in place, then certainly the borders can be open and commercial flights can be allowed to come in.
Dr. Clark said whilst initially there was unanimous opposition to the idea, with time passed and extensive preparation, some members have had a change of heart due to the uncertainty surrounding the duration of COVID-19's passage.
Certainly, in speaking with infectious disease experts, epidemiologists and the like, one gets the impression, and different people are speaking to different people, of course, that, of course, the 3 months, almost 4 months shutdown was to allow us enough time to get PPE, to get ourselves ready, to become psychologically prepared for this. Nobody knows when this is going to end. I mean, the projections are 2 years for a vaccine. And there are people who believe that reasonably we can't stay closed for that long, or even till December. The harsh reality is that we are largely dependent on tourism. It makes up a substantial part of our GDP. Should we have diversified? Absolutely. Have we failed in that regard? We and successive administrations have failed as St. Lucian people in not diversifying our economy enough.
The SLMDA president said in the end, it's a difficult decision, but with the lives of many on the line, the risk must be taken.
But the reality is there are thousands and thousands of people out of work. And it has been said in many quarters that the mental health impact of COVID-19 is going to be as significant, if not more significant, than the physical impact, because we well know from data that over 80% of people who do get COVID-19 are going to be okay. In terms of they may be asymptomatic or have very mild symptoms. So we well understand that this is a question of not overwhelming healthcare systems. We have had a look at the protocols. Nothing is foolproof. The 7 days, we thought, okay, that's quite a bit of leeway, but again, it's just one layer of what is in place. Temperature checks, the guests, we were quite insistent, I think, as the CMO's office had been, that there has to be separation, that guests coming from those higher risk places can't be allowed to be all over the place and to mingle as such. We St. Lucians just do have to understand that it's not business as usual. It's not going to be business as usual for a long time.
Dr. Clark said St. Lucians need to keep up with the hygiene protocols of the new normal. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, the 14th of July, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar George reported the 23rd case of the disease on island, and the patient is a returning national who arrived in St. Lucia on Friday, the 10th of July. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Fresh off the heels of the reintroduction of commercial flights to the island, St. Lucia has been awarded an honor by world-renowned national U.S. travel magazine, Travel and Leisure. Destination St. Lucia now ranks at number 17 in the top 25 islands in the Caribbean. Genevieve Gonzague has more.
St. Lucia reopened its borders to international travel on June 4th and welcomed its first flight on July 10th, 2020. With less than a week of accommodating tourists, tourism officials are heartened by its most recent accolade. St. Lucia now ranks 17 out of 25 islands in the Caribbean region in the prestigious Travel and Leisure World's Best Awards. Public Relations Manager of the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, Jereen Georges, explained that this good news is more than welcomed.
As it relates to some of our hotels, we have Jade Mountain ranking at number 9, Cap Mazor at number 12, and then we have Anne Chasney ranking at number 21. We also have Body Holiday ranking at number 4 out of 5 of the best international spas. And for us, this is some really good news, especially now on the heels of our reopening. This really speaks to the ethos of our people, the genuine St. Lucian personalities that are put out there every day, and our hospitality that is always boasted about as second to none.
She explained that the St. Lucia Tourism Authority is elated about the reopening of the island's borders, as it has afforded over 1,000 people the opportunity to get back to work and earn a living. She, however, made it clear that the health and safety of the entire nation remains the top priority.
With all of that, health and safety remains of paramount interest to us, and so all our efforts are working in tandem with the health authorities to ensure that our visitors, as well as our local communities, are kept safe.
Georges noted that the efforts to ensure there is no community spread in St. Lucia seem to be working, as COVID case number 23 was captured before being released into the community.
Of course, we did have a case coming off of one of the flights. However, that person was tested at the airport, immediately transferred to quarantine, and is now in isolation, and according to the Ministry of Health, is doing well. So it just goes to show that the system that we have in place is really, showing up on the efforts that we have put out there. I've spoken to one St. Lucian national in particular who departed on a flight on the 9th, the AA flight. And in speaking to him, he said to me, the processes that are in place at the airports, both on the departure side and on what he has seen that we have put out there from the arrival side, is in no way can be compared to what is seen in the U.S.
Presently, flights have been coming in via American Airlines and JetBlue. From Friday 16th, Delta will commence commercial travel to St. Lucia. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
St. Lucia is still under a water-related emergency. That is according to the Communications and Marketing Officer at WASCO, Sherry-Ann Gillard-Williams. She indicated that it can be noted that water levels are increasing. However, she says members of the public need to be mindful that they must continue to conserve water.
Recent rainfall has been very welcomed given the water-related emergency on the island. But do the rains mean the worst is behind us? Communication and Marketing Officer at the Water and Sewage Company, WASCO, Sherry-Ann Williams, explained that while the island has experienced some rainfall, the water level at the dam is not yet back to normal, and as such, rationing of water in communities continue.
Our levels, which are normally at 333 feet above sea level, fell to about 315 feet. Up until yesterday, the figures that we recorded were at 320 feet above sea level at the John Compton Dam, which would mean that we are, because of the rains that we've been experiencing over the last few weeks, we have been experiencing some level of increase in the water supply that we have at the John Compton Dam. So the levels have been increasing in terms of our raw water supply, which would mean that we are now better able to supply communities with water. The rationing system that we had employed for the past few months continues to remain in effect, but gradually, we are easing up on those restrictions.
The water-related emergency declared by the minister with responsibility for WASCO, Ezekiel Joseph, back in May, therefore remains in effect.
We just want to stress that the water-related emergency is still in effect. I know that for many people, they see that we are experiencing rains and so on, and people seem to think that because of those rains that we have reached our normal operating levels. That is not the case. We are getting there, but we are not yet fully there at this point. So the water-related emergency continues to remain in effect. There are certain prohibitions as it relates to the water-related emergency that continue to remain in effect, and we want to remind St. Lucians that they should be very conservative in the way that they use water.
She also noted that St. Lucia is in the hurricane season, and as such, people need to store water to ensure they are not severely affected if there are water interruptions due to a natural disaster.
We want to implore conservation. We want people to always have that at the forefront of their minds, that conservation is necessary. We want people to note the importance of having water tanks and receptacles at home so that you don't suffer the inconvenience of not having water if in any case there is a water supply interruption.
Members of the public are being asked to continue practicing water conservation as well as rainwater harvesting. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
A mother is revisiting the harrowing ordeal which she went through with her 9-year-old son after he was bitten by a snake in May. Dora Edwards says she watched her son suffer through multiple surgeries, and this, she believes, is partly due to the lag in time taken to tend to her son at hospital. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
A Canary's mother is counting her blessings now that her 9-year-old son is recovering from a harrowing ordeal caused by both nature and man. Dora Edwards' son, Kari Ishmael, was bitten on the foot by the deadly St. Lucian pit viper known as the fer-de-lance, and she said while she feels blessed that her son is well on the road to recovery, she believes that his pain and suffering could have been avoided. The Belvedere resident said the incident happened on the evening of May 23rd, and to date her son is still in recovery mode.
We were on our way home. We usually take a little track to our house. That's where it happened. I was there with him and my 2 other boys. He was the one in front. My oldest son was in the middle, and I was at the back with my phone. Just the light on my phone. He reached too close to the snake. That's why he got bitten by the snake. By the time we saw the snake, it was too late. When we arrived at the hospital, they waited like a good 30 to 45 minutes before giving him his anti-venom. And I was so scared, like something would have happened to him, Why are they taking so long to give the child the anti-venom?
Edwards said even after the delay in administering the antivenom to her son, more time was taken to begin the next steps of treatment needed. Her son would go on to have 4 different surgeries on the bitten foot.
That same night he got bitten by a snake. They waited 5 days to do surgery for him on the foot. Because they said something about they have to keep assessing or whatever to see what damage the venom would cause and whatnot. And okay, well, about the surgery, he did 2 in theater and 2 on bedside. He told me that was the worst experience he has ever had to go through.
Edward expressed gratitude to the People's Group of Canaries, also known as Kanawi Ensemble, who donated $1,500 towards her son's medical expenses, as well as the group Women in Leadership, who have vowed to lend a helping hand. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more coming up after the break.